Hi there, it's Jen from scribblinggrace.com. Today I have a quick tutorial for you on how to use napkins to create a Bible journaling page. So if you've been Bible journaling for a while, you may have heard of this technique. It's a super common one in the Bible journaling community because it's super easy, super fun, and it creates really gorgeous pages. This is a great technique if you think that you're not a super artistic person because you don't really need too much technical skill to create a really gorgeous Bible page using napkins. So this napkin I got on Amazon, and I'm going to put all these links to all of the supplies that I'm using and some other really pretty napkins that I found on Amazon as well in the blog post that goes along with this video at scribblinggrace.com/napkin, and I'll put that link in the description below. And so this napkin I'm using is a 3-ply napkin, which is pretty common. Most napkins are 3-ply, but you want to make sure you're using a napkin and not a paper towel or something like that. And because it's 3-ply, that means it has 3 layers. So I just peeled off the bottom 2 layers. It's pretty easy to do that. You just stick your nail into the corner and you'll see the different layers, and you just peel them off until you get to just this top layer with the print on it. It's important that you are only using this top layer because the napkins don't work too well on the Bible page as a full thick napkin. So you want to work with just this thin top layer. And then I am peeling apart my napkin, tearing it to just the pieces that I want to work with. And you can use scissors to do this as well. I prefer to tear it because I find that when you tear it, it blends better with the Bible page, and you can't really tell where the napkin starts and stops when it's finished. But that's completely a personal preference and something you might want to try out. It is a little bit harder to work with when you tear it. And so I have my napkin, and I have a piece of paper underneath the page that I'm working on to protect the pages below it. And then I have some clear gesso. You can technically do this with Mod Podge or clear matte medium, but I do find that gesso works the best. So I'll have all the links to all of those supplies at scribblinggrace.com/napkin, and that link will be in the description below. So I just kind of arranged the parts of my, how I want my page to look. I decided not to use that big chunk of the napkin that I peeled apart. And now's the fun part where you're applying it to the page. So I'm using a flat brush, just any size flat brush, cheap, fancy. You could use a foam brush as well. Some people prefer the foam brushes because you can't see the strokes of the brush if you use a foam brush, so that's something to keep in mind. And basically I just apply a layer of the gesso, and while the gesso is still wet, I stick on my napkin. Then I'm going to go ahead and get a little bit more gesso and start applying that onto the top of my napkin as well. So this is the same technique if you have ever decoupaged anything before with Mod Podge or something like that. You basically apply a layer to glue that napkin onto the page, and then you apply another layer on top of the napkin just to make sure it's nice and secure and there's no bubbles and things like that. So when you're applying it on top of the napkin, I highly recommend starting from the middle of that napkin and going outwards towards the edges. That way you're not going to get any bunches or anything like that. So I also like to apply a layer of that gesso around my entire page. You could just apply the gesso on the parts of the napkin that you're adhering, but I find that, the gesso does add a little bit of thickness to your page, so it's kind of nice to have it all one thickness. So you'll see me, I just brush on a little gesso around the whole page. Since it's clear, you still see all the writing of the words, and it's just a little extra protection to your page. I'm just gonna pick apart a couple other pieces of my napkin to make sure that I have it all full where I want it to be. And I also want to point out that because there's that paper underneath the page, and my gesso, I'm painting a little bit over the edges, that gesso can really cause the Bible page to stick to that printer piece of paper. And so I highly recommend to try your best to remember to lift up that Bible page from that printer piece of paper just every now and then to make sure that before it dries that it's not stuck onto that piece of paper, because I've had my Bible pages get stuck to that piece of paper before, and it's hard to get it off, and it can cause tearing and things like that. So that's something to just keep in mind. So again, the whole process is just applying a layer of the gesso, sticking on the piece of the napkin, and then applying a little bit more gesso to the top of the napkin to get that nice and adhered. And I'm just using my heat gun to quickly dry my page, and then I'm going to go ahead and trim off the edges since I went over the edge a little bit with my napkin. And then I'm going to finish it off by just adding some lettering. So I hope that you like get inspired by this and want to try it. It really is fun. And again, I'll put all of those links to all the supplies I use, some other really pretty napkins that I found on Amazon. But of course, you could get your napkins anywhere. Party supply stores are a really great place for those as well. And so to finish off my page, I am writing out, "He is good and forgiving," because I'm working on Psalm 86:5, which says, "For you, O Lord, are good and forgiving, abounding in steadfast love to all who call upon you." So I'm just doing some quick brush calligraphy here, which again, I have all those tutorials for. I have a few brush calligraphy and lettering tutorials in my blog, and so I'll put all those links again in that blog post, and the blog post will be in the description below. All right, so that's the that's my finished page. Isn't it super pretty? And it's really easy, and it gives you such a really gorgeous look. And remember, you can do this with all types of napkins. You don't have to do just florals. I did another page using chevrons. You can do colorful things. There's so many options for this technique, so I hope that you enjoyed it. All right, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you have a wonderful day. God bless.